We can never build the Africa of our dreams on salaries. Ask yourself the question, if you're listening to me deep in your heart, isn't it time to have your own? If you're working for that big hospital, you're working for that big IT firm, for whatever business, you should always ask yourself, isn't it time to have your own? Because the only way significant progress can be done, the only way we can move forward and create significant impact, we have to start owning something. I feel blessed today. It's an awesome day to be alive. I am actually in Dallas, Texas. I was attending an event organized by a non-profit organization called the African Think Tank. It's their first fundraiser event called the Ubuntu Fundraising Gala. And trust me, there is no group of people in the world who are more elegant, more beautiful, can dress up nicely, look great, like African people, like African immigrants in America. I sat in that dinner party and everybody was looking like $1 million after taxes before stimulus check. So you can imagine what that means. And while at the fundraising event, a question just kept popping in my head. A question kept hitting me so hard. There are statistics out there that says African immigrants in America come to America. 40% of them have a G.E.D. About 24% of them have some kind of college education, and about 12 or 15% have degrees and advanced degrees. They are beautiful people, hardworking people by any standard, God-loving people, spiritually upright people. And the question I keep asking is, why aren't they great? Why is there no significant traction with the influence and impact that the African immigrant community in America is making, not only in America, but even out of America? And it got me thinking a little bit. It got me thinking about something I read not too long ago. You know, if you've been traveling a little bit like I do, and you, of course, sleep in different hotels, you would have noticed that disproportionately, there are more and more hotels where the receptionists and the owners of the hotels are people of Indian heritage and Indian birth. And again, I want to make this very clear. When people are succeeding at something, you must learn from them. It's easy to be envious. It's easy to squish it off and say, hey, it's because of this. No, I want African immigrants especially gather here, learn something. And as I noticed the increase, as I keep traveling and I noticed the increase in ownership of hotels, I said, let me go check why. Why is this the case? And I realized that in 1942, there was a Gujarati man who came to the US. He was a farm worker. His name is Kanjibai Manchu. And he invited two of his friends who were farm workers too. They were living in Sacramento in California. And there was a hotel, a Motel 6 hotel owned by a Japanese-American couple. And they were forced to go to war, and so they had to give up that hotel. He invited two of his farm friends, and they took over that hotel in 1942. And from that, they moved over to San Francisco and took over another hotel in San Francisco. And since then, there has been a consistent rise in their willingness and desire to manage and own the hotel business in America. Now in 2007, about 40% of all hotels were owned by people of Indian descent, especially Gujarati people. And today we are talking 2024, 60% of all hotels in America are owned and managed by Indian-born immigrant people. I want that to sink in. I want you to understand exactly what it is all about. In fact, I further did a little more research and I realized that from that Gujarati tribe in India, which is a big tribe out of India, right? The name Patel, I'm sure you've heard about Patel. It even states that 40% of all Patels globally know themselves or are interconnected or are interrelated in a way. So what that does is that due to that relationship, there is a great sense of community and support. So, for example, when one of them finds an opportunity for a hotel, the others can even give him or her a loan on a handshake. They don't need to sign a piece of paper. They work on trust. and they can extend a loan, and that person will take over that hotel, and then they will come and work in the hotel as family, as friends, as a community, reduce the cost of paying for extra staff, and be able to provide optimal services and take over that industry. What if you lost your job today? How long will you be able to hang on? Is your emergency fund able to give you 6 months of leeway? Or are you like most people who, if they lose their job, they are 1 month away from financial disaster? Listen, I know you're working hard. I know you show up every day, but it doesn't feel like anything is changing. You feel stuck. And the reason why you feel stuck is because most people earn more, but lifestyle inflation eats it up. No one ever taught you how to build wealth. Your income isn't the wealth. Your income is a seed. It might not create freedom if you don't duplicate it. But here is the good news. Here is what I want to tell you today. I have created the Paycheck to Prosperity seminar, and I am inviting you to that seminar on Saturday, the 2nd of August, for a small investment of $97. You'll be able to break free from the paycheck loop and finally take control of your money. How to shift from saver to wealth builder with a proven intentional strategy. How to increase your income without quitting your 9 to 5 or working more hours. How to find your best path to prosperity based on your income, goals, and lifestyle. How to move from confusion to confidence with money decisions that build real wealth, and get practical tools and live support to build your system and stay consistent. If you're ready for that shift, don't hesitate. Click in the link below and go ahead and register for this life-changing seminar. I'll see you on the inside. Now, as African immigrants, especially in America, what can you learn from this? There is one thing I've noticed in my time in this country. Every immigrant community in America, number one, finds a way to build, and number two, have their anchor in their countries and continents of birth. For us African immigrants in America, we must rethink especially the role we have to play to continue to build a bridge with our continent in Africa. You know, it is easy to see that barbecues, nicely dressed, smelling good with the best perfumes in the world, top-notch jobs in America, doctors, nurse practitioners, entrepreneurs, physicians, IT professionals, what have you. And we write off our continent, we insult our countries, we talk all kinds of negative things about those countries. You know what? It still doesn't absolve us. It still doesn't absolve you of the responsibility you owe to the motherland. Now, this is what I want to say. One of the key reasons for the rise in the Gujarati ownership in the hotel business, from my research, is certainly the community. Certainly the power of coming together and doing stuff. The power of supporting and investing in each other. The power of it being able to lower their ego and be able to work together as partners. You know, I was reading actually a Bible verse. That verse is Genesis 30:25. And in that verse, Jacob, who has been working for Laban for many years, saw the way Laban's flock has increased, has helped Laban build a big farm, and the flock has increased significantly. And he asked Laban one day, and he said, Laban, isn't it time for me to own my own? Listen to that question. That question hit me so hard even while I was sitting at the African think tank event. Isn't it time that African immigrants own their own? Let me tell you, and when I say this in all sincerity. We can never build the Africa of our dreams on salaries. We can never build the Africa that has to step up and stand up and be respected and control our narrative and be impactful and be able to sit on the table of decision making in this world only on earning salaries. Ask yourself the question, if you're listening to me deep in your heart, isn't it time to have your own? If you're working for that big hospital, you're working for that big IT firm, you're working for that company, for whatever business, you should always ask yourself, isn't it time to have your own? Because the only way significant progress can be done, the only way we can move forward and create significant impact, we have to start owning something. I know in the African immigrant community today, healthcare is a big business. Healthcare is a big profession. That is where a lot of people move into. Today, unlike 20 years ago when I came, today we have DNPs in great numbers. We have doctors in great numbers. We have nurse practitioners. We have nurse anesthetists. We have registered nurses. We have pharmacists. We have all these different professions within the healthcare industry. But we don't own no hospitals in America. We don't own no businesses in the healthcare industry that we can sit on the table and make decisions in the industry which employs the most number of African immigrants. Isn't it time for us to have our own? You see, I was working in the IT industry. I worked in that industry for 11 years. In fact, the picture you're seeing, I'm standing next to a guy which most of you might not recognize him. That guy is one of the richest people in the world. This gentleman I'm standing next to. He's about 79 years old today, I think, or somewhere about that. And he founded a company over 40 years ago, which today is the #1 database company in the world, one of the top cloud competitors in the world, and is running about 50% of all databases in Fortune 500 companies are databases from his company. He is called Larry Ellison. He's the owner of the company called Oracle Corporation. You most likely have never heard about Oracle because it's not a show business corporation. It's not a corporation to this. It's a tech company and it has databases that businesses run on. Go research about him. He actually, in that picture, he had come to open the new center, the new office, headquarters at Austin. And at that point, I was working for the company. And after the meeting and everything, there was a lot of security. And I bulldozed my way through security. I went and met him and I shook his hand. I said, Mr. Ellison, you're welcome to Austin. You know, I'm glad you came. He said, sir, thank you. What's your name? I said, my name is Gustav Biachu. I'm originally from Cameroon in Central Africa, slightly larger than the land size of California. That's the size of my country. 27 million people, geographically and culturally diversified. Whenever I come to California, sir, I want you to remember my face and my name because I would like to meet you and have a chat with you for coffee. Of course, I know it's a long shot, but he was taken aback. He said, young man, wow, I'm glad you came to greet me. For one thing, I've hardly had people call me Mr. Ellison. And for another thing, I just saw the way you bulldozed through people to go and get what you wanted. Long and short of the story, I stood by him, took a picture, and I asked myself the question too. Gustav, you are working for Oracle Corporation. You are a sales cloud engineer. With your salary and your bonuses, at the end of your best year, you were able to rack in about $160,000. Fine and good. That's not small money. But the CEO of Oracle Corporation at that time, may his soul rest in peace, a great guy. He passed away a few years ago. He made about $43 million in earnings and salary and stock options. And so I asked myself the question, Gustav, you want to tell me the impact the CEO has in the company is $43 million more impactful than your impact? And the answer obviously was yes. The next question I asked myself, Gustav, isn't it time to have your own? And that spurred me to start working on becoming a business owner and becoming in control of my destiny. So the question I'm asking you today, listening to me, isn't it time to have your own? Isn't it time as African immigrants in America to work on being able to put ourselves together and build corporations? You know, there's a statistic out there, 93% of black-owned businesses in America are small businesses. Listen, let me tell you, I'm not criticizing small businesses, but I'm just saying that small businesses are not going to create it. Small businesses are not going to create the impact, the influence, the wealth that is needed to be able to sit on the table of decision-making and leadership in this country and in the world and impact Africa the way we want to impact Africa. Today, there is a massive growth in independent clinics by nurse practitioners, doctors in nursing practice, DNPs as they call them. And I keep asking myself, 20 different Africans living in the same city like Dallas or a small city like Aubrey or Austin or one of those places, and each person has an independent clinic. Why can't the 20 of you come together? Number one, you are going to benefit from something called economies of scale. What does that mean? When the 20 of you come together, number one, you put your resources together. Instead of each renting an office space, you can buy an office building. where you can use the first floor for your clinic and the second floor you can rent it out for other offices. Number two, you bring all your resources together, which means your intellect, your energy, and you work together. Number three, this will be 20 people marketing for the same company instead of one person marketing each for their individual company. That is why if you go back and look at the statistics, about 50 to 60% of those clinics close in the first 2 to 3 years because they get excited, they get started the business, and they realize you alone cannot sustain it. You are working a full-time job or 2 full-time jobs. You're trying to sustain the business. You don't have enough traffic coming in. You don't have enough marketing. You don't have enough resources and all of that stuff, and the business closes down. Isn't it time to come together and be able to build? I talked about the Gujarati example here. The number one reason why they are successful at owning all the 60% of hotels in America, which means 6 out of 10 hotels in America, is because they came together. It's because they worked as a community. One of the words I hate to use when I talk especially about our continent of Africa and our brothers and sisters there and how we can be able to work with them is support. Take that word out of your vocabulary. Don't ever talk about people in Africa as you are supporting them or you are helping them. Talk about investing in them. Talk about partnering with them. Talk about being able to work together to build a bigger cake. You know what? A 1% slice of $1 billion business is better than a 100% ownership of a $1 million business. Hear for me. You know how I learned that? The day I did research on the former CEO and chairman of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Of course, everybody knows Jeff Bezos owns Amazon. Jeff Bezos is Amazon. And when I went to research, Jeff Bezos only owned 11% of Amazon, and he was the richest man in the world for many years. We talked today about Elon Musk. Elon Musk owns about 21-22% of Tesla. So what that means is that there are thousands of other billionaires who are owners of Tesla. And you know what, talking about even Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, you know how he even came to the limelight? Go do your research. Go click on YouTube, you watch it. There is a group called the PayPal Mafia. 8 of them used to work for PayPal. And when they brought PayPal to a big value, they sold PayPal and made a little bit of money. And then they decided now to go work on their individual businesses and their individual ideas. But you know the important thing they did? They made sure all of the 8 of them invested in each other. They sat on each company's board. They invested in each other's business. And today they own a myriad of businesses. Go do your research and you will see. They own a myriad of businesses, from Elon Musk owning Tesla. The other friends own different finance companies and different businesses. How did they get to do that? Because they banded together. They invested in each other. They worked together in each other. Hey guys, have you been wondering how you could chat with me one-on-one just to talk on your aspirations, your career, your business, and the things you might dream about with your life and you would really like to do with your life? I know it's been a challenge because a lot of people have been sending me inbox messages, asking me questions and asking me how they could get to me. That has been answered for you. I've created a one-on-one program where you can actually book a time. You look in the link in the description. You can book a time and have a one-on-one conversation with me for 30 minutes for a very small fee. If you look down in the description of this video, you will find that information and go ahead and book a time and let's have a conversation. You see, as African immigrants, if you really want to succeed in building a bridge and maintaining the bridge with the continent of Africa, you must be able to understand the power of partnership. You are hardly going to be able to do it on your own. We can never build huge corporations alone, all right? You must be able to work with people who also think like that. You must be able to attract people and share your ideas and be able to convince people to work with you. I'm not saying that there will not be hitches. There will be failures sometimes. There will be lack of trust. One person might become dishonest and do things that it doesn't support the vision of the business. But don't give up. Don't give up on that. If we are going to make an impact in Africa, if we are going to build that continent, if we are going to make the continent relevant like we talk, Africa is rising. Africa is rising. You know what? An important piece of Africa rising is the diaspora community. The diaspora community for Israel made Israel what it is today. Strong community, because they moved out to America and they started owning banks and financial institutions, and today they control the money of the world. That is why a company like Tesla, a company like Uber can run for 13 years without profit, but there's somebody who keeps cutting a check and supporting that business. As an African immigrant in America, we start a business within 1 year, 2 years, it doesn't work, we close it down. You know why? Sometimes we don't even believe it's going to work, but most importantly, we don't even have the support to host that business and continue to build the business until it works. We must get into that mindset if we want to change Africa. We are not going to change our continent by just sitting and working in our individual jobs. And you do your individual job, you make 300,000 a year, 200,000 a year, you buy a nice house, you buy a Mercedes, you marry a partner, have children, and you're going on vacations all the time and all of that. You think that's it. I am not saying that's not important. That is good. That is nice, square, and fair. But if you are thinking about legacy, like what I talk about always, if you're thinking about leaving something for future generations to remember your name, then you know what? You must start thinking about building corporations. You must start thinking about building businesses that can outlast you. Businesses that if you are not present in the business, it doesn't fail. Businesses that will last as corporations for years to come. Businesses that will employ your children's children and other people. That is what diaspora communities do. That is what diaspora communities work. Today, only in my class from high school in Cameroon, where I grew up in, just my generation and my class in high school, I know about 50 medical doctors who are classmates of us when we were in high school in America, from cardiologists to all these great specialties. And I ask my friends every day, I say, you guys are MDs. Have you put yourself together and organize yourself in a way that as you're going to Cameroon for vacation or whatever it is, each person dedicate 1 week to go lecture in the university on the topic of their expertise, like visiting professors? That is what great nations do. That is what great continents do. There are American universities in China, in Singapore. American professors go there for 1 week to lecture, 2 weeks to lecture. If you are going home for 3 weeks, for example, can you dedicate 1 week of that 3-week vacation just to go teach your specialty, which is cardiology, to the students in queues or these different hospitals or whatever hospital it is in Nigeria? That is what we talk about, developing that continent. We are never going to develop the continent and become relevant on handout. Listen, I was reading a statistic not too long ago. Over the last 50 years, Africa has received, I don't know if it's 500 billion or how many billion, close to $1 trillion of aid, of charity. Where are we today? Listen, and listen very clearly to me. I hope this touches somebody deep in their heart. I hope this revolutionizes your thinking and changes your mindset around the power and the necessity for ownership. And I'll leave you with this beautiful story. I was watching a video of Shaquille O'Neal. He gave an interview. And he said when he left Orlando Magic, he was drafted by Orlando Magic as the #1 overall pick. And 3 years after his rookie contract expired, he was moving to Los Angeles Lakers. And Los Angeles Lakers gave him $100 million for about 7-year contract or something at that time. That was huge money, right? That was money that has never been seen by him or any other basketball player. And he said he went to LA and started playing for the team. And one good Sunday, the owner, Jerry Boss, at that time, he passed away. His family still owns the LA Lakers. He called him on the phone. Shaq, where are you? He said, boss, I'm home. He said, you have a few minutes, come over and meet me. And Shaq drove over and met him at his mansion. And he took Shaquille O'Neal and they were walking in his garden. And Shaq was expecting him to tell him something, maybe some bad news or whatever it is, you know. Of course, you know, when your boss calls you, you are scared. And the man asked him, Shaq, how are you feeling? Shaq said, I'm feeling good, sir. He said, yeah, of course, I expect you to be feeling good. I just gave you $100 million contract for 7 years. So you got to be feeling great. Shaq said yes. And then they kept walking and Shaq is wondering why this guy asked him. And then he turns around and said, but Shaq, you know what I want you to understand? If I gave you $100 million contract to play for LA Lakers, how much do you think you're making for me? And Shaq said, sir, I don't know, but that's a brilliant question. I have to think about it. And he told Shaq, the reason I called you is to remind you as a young, vibrant man, and especially somebody who is growing up as a leader in the black community, that understand that the power of America and the power of anything you want to do to have influence, you have to own something if you want to build wealth. And Shaq said from that day, his mind opened up to the necessity and the absolute criticality of ownership. And today he's certainly worth close to hundreds of millions. He owns a lot of chains of car washes and restaurants and all these kind of businesses, right? So I am saying that the America you live in today, if you're listening to me, even if you don't live in America, you live in Europe or Canada, wherever you live in the world, understand that ownership is the only way we will be able to build significant wealth, which is the wealth that will permit Africa to rise again. Africa has a lot of natural resources. We have a lot of Africans around the world working for top petroleum companies. And they just want to work for Shell, for Texaco, for all these companies for 30 years and retire and die. And they don't think about the fact that Shell is a Dutch company, and we could also create an African-based company to exploit the oil within the African soil. I am doing my own part. My own gift, my own purpose is to unlock the mind, is to build the belief in your system so that you can identify your purpose and you work on it for the rest of your life. That is why I walked away from an IT job paying me at the end of the year a high six-figure income. And I said, no, I'm not going to let nobody pay me again. Because anytime they pay me, they are killing my dream. They are killing my work. They are killing the thing I'm born to do. And I want you to find it in your heart. What is that thing? If you still have challenges understanding that thing, feel free, down in the description section of this video, I have a link. Book a one-on-one appointment with me for a very small fee and come and let's talk. I'll be able to get you on the path to start unlocking what your purpose is. Because when you work in your purpose, there is no competition. When we work in our purpose, that's how we build Africa. When I look at America, the country I've lived in for 20 years, I realized that America was not built only by people who are hardworking. America was built by people who found their purpose and they worked on it. And that's why they're always ahead in innovation. They're always ahead in economic policies. They're always ahead in driving economic value. They're always ahead in creativity because they understand the value of finding your purpose and working on it. So if you're looking for that, if you're finding a way to understand what your own purpose is, click on that link and let's have a one-on-one conversation. In addition to that, we have a very tight-knit community of over 2,000 people in our newsletter community. That is where I share exclusive information that I don't share to social media. And I do that once a week. If you are interested in receiving that newsletter, there is also a link down in the comment section. Click on it and just give us your email and you will be registered in the community and you will start receiving that newsletter. It is changing the lives of over 2,000 people and I know it is going to change your life. Until next time, if you found this information valuable, subscribe to the channel or share this information with people you love so they too can continue to build themselves. And until the next time, be well, be blessed, and by all means, never stop being a blessing to somebody. Bye for now.